Hola, Hope. How are you?
Hello, hello. I'm good. How are you, Rainy?
I am good. I'm excited that I'm gonna lie that today's the last Thursday of September.
October's almost here.
I am excited that you're here. I found you through books,
Honeybook.
and and when I read your description, I was like, she's the woman for me. I've been looking for her, learning a lot about marketing. You need a team. And so you are that team. Come to realize, and I'm very grateful. We had a discovery call together, and you
Mhm.
gave me so much input. Even after our call through email, you following up, keep answering my questions, and I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to have met you. Like I said, I honestly I feel like you are someone I'm supposed to know. So I'm really happy that we had that first call because it just confirmed what I thought. You are the like ideal type of client that I work with because of the industry. Being like, because like my focus is architects because I used to be one. But also, it's your mindset and your energy. You really bring everything who you are to your work, and that's really clear. And for me, that's really fun. Like, that's exactly who I love to work with and who I love to help. I'm super excited to be here on the podcast and just to build our relationship and get to know you over time.
And that having the persona of the clients you want to work with and creating that. And when I was listening to that, I thought it was an app, a generated app that you
Mm.
use that creates that persona. And I'm like, I need to tell her if it doesn't exist to create it. But secondly, I started like writing everything you were saying. And I want to know who is your persona?
So I have several, and that's okay. I think one of the misconceptions that a lot of people may have when they're thinking about their persona, their client, their ideal client persona, is that it's just one person or just one type of person. And that's not true. You can have multiple. It all depends on who you serve and what you're providing. So I have a few different ones. One is, yeah, like women owned firms. So this is specifically within AEC. So architecture, engineering, construction, for those who don't know that acronym. So women owned or women led firms. Usually owner is either just starting their firms or in the early days of their firm, or they're well established, but there's a transition that's happening. So maybe they're entering a new market or they are thinking about ownership transition, like from themselves to someone else in their firm or outside their firm even. So usually there's some type of transformation, transition happening because that's where I can best serve. Because you're trying something new and you need a bit of guidance, and I can hop in and give you that guidance. Also, and it's a part of my persona, but it's something that's come organically. It revealed itself to me, so I've added it to my persona, is that this female or female led firm, I've worked with men too, of course, but majority of my clients are women, and their firm and themselves are both about something bigger than themselves. So they're not in business just to make money. And if they are an AEC, they are not in business just to build things either. There's a purpose behind it, an intention to make this place better. So whether you're into sustainability or regeneration, or you are trying to create spaces that really support the humans inhabiting those spaces, in a direct way. So it's not just, oh, here's your nice home or here's your nice office and it looks great. But the way that that space has been designed truly supports their human beingness, like it supports them as people. So that's who I like to work with. If all you're about is just creating pretty structures, that's nice. And yes, I can help you, but you're not my target. Like you're not my ideal person.
So interesting that it's very niche. It's very
Mm-hmm.
niche, I think. The reason why I say that is because on my own experience on being the designer, being the architect, I enter spaces and I see that the space was just designed because of the looks or the materials or because it's on trend and it's missing that soul that you're mentioning in your clients, right?
Right.
And so I could translate that into my clients, like people that want to have their personality and their soul reflected in their spaces.
Mm-hmm.
It varies so much. That intention alone, even though it seems so simple, and yeah, we're all human and we all think that way. In reality, what I realized that that's not true. And you can feel it. There's beautiful spaces I've entered, and I'm like, I just don't want to be here. I just don't feel like being here. And then you enter other spaces, and it could be a mess, but I'm like, I feel comfortable.
And you recognize that, like, you get that feeling instantly. Like, as soon as you step in, you can feel that. Like, when I was still in architecture, that was my thing. Like, that was my mission as a designer, as an architect, that those are the types of spaces I wanted to create. When I pivoted into marketing, it's why I choose to help people that have that same mission. It's my way of kind of like exponentially increasing my own impact in that way, because I'm helping so many other people that are doing similar things. And for me, I feel like that's much more than what I could accomplish as a single individual. Just to go back to personas, I do have a couple other ones, and that is, but the through line is that they have a mission that is more than just making money and being successful in business. It's more about how they can impact in a positive way this planet in some kind of way, right? So I also work with coaches. I also work with consultants. I work with other professional services, like lawyers and things like that, because one, I have the skills, like I can help them. But again, it's because they are on a similar mission. So they're not designing spaces, but they are having a similar type of impact. And so I just want to support that. And also they keep finding me. In the beginning, I only focused on architects and interior designers, really. And I kept getting people reaching out to me saying like, oh, I really love what you do. I love what I read on your site, or I love that blog post, or I love this social post, whatever it happened to be. Or it's like, oh, I downloaded one of your freebies. I know I'm not an architect, but I found it so helpful. Like, can we work together? And I'm like, well, what do you do? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm a coach. I'm a life coach. I'm like, okay. But the thing I realized is that they weren't in architecture or anywhere close to the building industry at all, but they had the right vibe. Like I recognized that what they were picking up on in my marketing messaging was that we were the same people, like we were each other's people. And just because they weren't designing spaces didn't mean I couldn't help them. And so I realized in a very organic way, I'm like, oh, I keep attracting these people that are architects. I wonder if that's telling me something. I think I'm being told something here. So I have another persona that's for the non-architects. It's like, okay, they still have everything else though, right? Like they're still on the mission to just create a better world in some capacity. They want to have an impact that's greater than themselves. And they're not all about just making money for money's sake. They want to be the catalyst for transformations. And I think that's great because I do too. So that's like, okay, well, let's all help each other out then. Let's create this world that we want to see, that we have this vision for. And so, yeah, so I have those personas as well for the non-architects, but my main clients would be the architects, the interior designers, the landscape architects, construction people, everyone within the building industry, really.
And do you change that messaging? For example, have you changed it, or have you left the messaging that you only work with AEC clients and then they just simply show up?
Yeah. So this is the funny thing.
Okay.
I haven't changed a lot of my messaging at all. It still is pretty much targeted toward architects. Yet I still keep getting non-architects reaching out to me. But what I'm actually in the middle of doing, so sometime later this year, most likely, maybe early next year, the timeline's kind of flexible, but I am doing a little bit of a rebrand on my messaging. So not like the visuals, but just the messaging, because I realized that I keep attracting these people that are great. Like they are ideal clients, but they're not within the building industry. And I don't want them to always reach out with this caveat saying, hey, I know I'm not an architect, but can you help me? I want them to know from the get-go that, yeah, I can help them. So I'm going to start changing up some things on my website. So it's very clearly like, yes, I'm for you in AEC. And yes, I'm for you if you're not an AEC. And because I don't think I would have an issue with continuing to attract those non-architects, but I don't want them to feel that, you know,
they reach out to you.
yeah, like it's feel free, and you don't have to apologize for not being an architect. It's okay.
Exactly. You're attracting your vibe very naturally, and it makes all the sense in the world. Like you mentioned this word vibe check about
Mm-hmm.
cities,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, I'm guessing you use this for your clients as well. It's a vibe check. It's a
Oh yeah.
feeling. And
Oh yeah.
is it an instant thing, or how do you have like a list? Change a lot the organization part in your business if they are not architects?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. Yeah, the funny thing about that is like how I serve my clients doesn't change. It's really a language thing to make sure that they understand that they're welcome, because everything else is very much like, hey architects, interior designer. You know, like I'm very clear about calling it out to the people I want to hear my message. And so for me, it's more about balancing that with reaching out to those non-architect folks. And the vibe check is a real thing. Yeah. Like I encourage everyone to do their own version, because the worst thing is to like, you know, have a new client and then that project, that work with that client is horrible, just a really horrible experience because it's not the right person. Because there is a list, and I think everyone should have a version of this, especially if you are a service-based business. If you sell products, it's not quite the same, but in services, you work with people, like that is your business. So when you are in the early parts, like early talks with a potential client, one of the things you need to check for, besides what it is that they're looking for, and if that's a good fit for what you do, I mean, that's an obvious thing, right? And then if they have a budget and all of that stuff, yes, you need to do all those things. But also try to get a feel for what it's like just to interact with them, and really pay attention to your own body's responses when you are, whether you could just be talking on the phone, like it may not be a Zoom call, it's just a normal phone call. However it is that you are communicating with these people, pay attention to how your body's responding as you have the conversation. Because if they're saying all the right things and on paper they seem ideal, oh, look at this, checking all the boxes, yes, 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 look, it's gonna be a perfect client. But that whole time that you're in conversation with them and they're checking all these boxes, like, okay, like they want what I do and they have the money and they're looking to get started now, and whatever else you need to know, like before you send a proposal or anything like that. If your body is checked out, there's a reason. If you feel tightness, like if you feel tension anywhere in your body, especially if it's in your chest or your shoulders or your neck or your back, something's off. You might not know exactly why. And to be honest, and this is something I've learned over time, you don't need to know the reason why. You just need to pay attention to how you're responding, because all of those nonverbal responses that your body is giving, you can't really control those. So it's an honesty in your reaction. And if you are feeling tense and uncomfortable or anxious for any reason in conversation with this prospective client, there's probably something there, and it's probably a sign that you may not want to work with them, or at the very least, you want to have a few more conversations before you commit, because something may come out and then you'll be like, oh, this is why I was feeling really weird or really odd when we were having a conversation. Oh, red flag. No. This is not a good fit after all. I've had that experience, and I've had that experience many times, but I've had that experience a few years ago where it seemed great, but my body kept telling me something was wrong, because I felt weird I was on a call with them. They reached out to me and things seemed good. I was like, okay, like so far, so good, checking all the boxes, like this is good. But while I was on the call with them, I just felt anxious, and I didn't have a reason. There was nothing else going on in my life that day that I needed to feel anxious about. And we scheduled a second follow-up call, and it was supposed to be a Zoom call, and there was a little technical trouble, but they got on Zoom, and it still seemed to go okay. Like, they were saying the right things, but I just had this feeling, I'm like, I don't know. Something doesn't feel right, and I don't know why, but something doesn't feel right. And as much as they're saying all the right things, and I like what they do, and I'm like happy to help them, something's telling me like my stomach doesn't feel right, like my chest is tight, like I don't know. And I didn't listen to myself. I went ahead and I sent them a proposal, and they signed it, and we moved forward with the project. Nightmare from the get-go. I felt like a bait and switch because, like I said, they seemed great on the call. They were saying all the right things. And as soon as they signed that agreement and we started the project, and they paid a deposit because it was going to be a pretty long project from the get-go, like from onboarding. We didn't even like get into the meat of the project. It was just one thing after another. And I was like, why is this so difficult? Like, what is going on? And then they just seemed to flip from being these really nice people to being really like just horrible. I was like, I should have listened to myself. I felt it. I felt that something was off, and I didn't listen. And now
you're not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah.
You know why? Because something similar happened to me. I was in the land, right? We were talking about the project. I was listening. The wind was hitting my body the right way. The trees around me, everything that he was saying. But suddenly my body was like, it couldn't move. Like, imagine. And then the word you used, so beautiful, like checked out. I didn't even know I was checked out. So the client kept talking and talking and talking, and I was checked out. Even though I'm like, and I was asking myself, why is this happening? I had the time to ask myself, why is this happening? I don't get it. It's perfect. Everything. It checks all the boxes, like you were saying. I signed the contract. So it was the opposite of, I signed the contract, first payment, everything. Immediately, I started showing them the design, which was so, like, for me, it was so cool because I had, like, some bridges that cross from, well, it wasn't even about the pricing, by the way, but they were rejecting everything. So much so that they were like, you're not, they were telling me, I'm going to use the word they're saying, like, you're not listening, and I fill out the prompts and all. They believed they wanted. And even if I added the coolest items or the coolest design or, and did everything they asked, they didn't want to. So what happened? I was like, so this was a crisis. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe I'm wrong. I went through that process. You know what happened? When I was grieving, because obviously I'm like, okay, we shouldn't work together. First, because you're disrespecting me in a very like very ugly way. The way they were talking to me was very, very, I've never had that experience. But 3 weeks later, I receive a call out of the blue of a client wanting a very similar project. But imagine if I charge $700 for the other client. This one was $7,000. So you add one more zero. The same project. You're adding one more zero. So 7,000. Everything I did for them, the prompts, the questions, the meetings, it was playful. It was back and forth. I started just flowing, like I was inspired, all of that. And so, yeah, I think sometimes it's not you. It's the vibe. And a client can hurt you, but at the end of the day, it's like someone else will come and be like,
oh yes. I think the important thing is to really listen to yourself so that you can avoid those situations. Like, we're human, we're going to make mistakes, but I take what I experience as a learning, because like I've had similar experiences, but that one was really bad. It was like, oh, this feels gross. And I managed to get out of it. Like, I had to like fire them as a client, but that was fine. It worked out well. But my lesson, like what I came from that experience was like, okay, how do I not let this happen again? The way to do that is like, well, I knew this wasn't going to work from the beginning. I knew on those phone calls, I should have listened to myself. And so the next time I'm in a similar situation and I start getting those sensations in my body, it's like, ooh, okay, I'm being told something here. Don't be fooled by the words. Don't be fooled by what they're telling you. because there's something here that maybe is not obvious yet, but there's a reason why you're not feeling good right now in this conversation. And it's saying, don't move forward with these people, or at the very least, don't move forward right now. Investigate a little bit more, chat a little bit more, like really kind of take the time to know if this is truly the right project for you. And that's hard to do if you're desperate for work. So, I mean, that's a lot of times you could, especially if you're starting out, or if you are not starting out, but maybe you have a dry period. It's just you haven't been able to, get many clients, and it's just things are really tight. It's really easy to take on work that better, that you shouldn't do, but you're like, oh, I need the money. And the thing is, usually in those situations, and I've had this happen with clients where they were so stressed out because they took on work that they knew that they should not have said yes to, but they were so consumed with bringing in revenue. It was like, I need money, so I'm just going to take this on. And it turns out not only was it super stressful, really sucked all the energy out of them, but it ended up costing them more than what they got in terms of money. So it just wasn't worth it in the end. And it can be hard to recognize that if you are distracted by feelings of desperation or feelings like, oh no, like this isn't working. Like, what am I doing? So it's a really common mistake.
Client, I wanted to add this because this client, regardless of us separating, we're still in contact, and they have called me asking me for help when they're in desperate need. So also that's my value. Like, regardless of it not working for us, they're still there,
Yeah.
and I'm still available. I'm like, my contacts and being, hey, can you help him out doing the construction? Because I've been in construction. It's hard. And regardless of them, of it not working, I'm still here to help. So I know the same for you.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah. You just, cause sometimes it's not about doing the help, like being the provider of the service. It might be someone, like you said, I can call one of my contacts, and that's the help you provide. That's the service you provide. It doesn't necessarily have to be you doing the work, especially if you know it's not a good fit. You should honor that, knowing that it's not a good fit. Doesn't mean you cut them off. Like in this particular horrible client that I mentioned, like they're not my client anymore, but we're not on bad terms. Because when they found someone to take over, I went above and beyond to make sure that person had everything they needed, answer their questions, make sure they had all the stuff. And then, we still keep in contact. Like, I know that they're on my email list still. And like, I see stuff on social, and we'll like communicate that way sometimes. But it's more about, it's just not the right fit for us to work together in that capacity. It doesn't mean, like, I don't think they're horrible people. They were just horrible clients for me. But they're lovely people, I have to say, because that's why it was so hard for me to accept that this was not, that I made a mistake, that I knew that I should not have moved forward with this client or accepted him as a client. Part of the reason it was so hard was because I love what they do and they seem like awesome people. And so because of that, I disregarded what I was actually feeling about the situation and therefore took them on when I shouldn't have. However, again, like, they're lovely people and they do amazing work. It's just we and that type of client relationship isn't a good fit.
And I mentioned right now, it's something we can use in every relationship we have, like our friends, or, because some people introduce you to other, and you have like, I don't know, but they work together with your friend, right? Let's say, and I think that's why it's like releasing the judgment to that person and releasing the judgment to yourself.
Yes.
Because, and there's still going to be that, period of grieving like I did. But also, I know you're exaggerating, like I'm questioning my whole career, because of one client. But, it happens sometimes. And I know it happens also in social media, like, one comment. I've heard, very famous people. There's a lot of articles talking about that, you have 100, oh, I love you. And then you have one, hateful comment, and really it's tough. And how do you keep your vibe in check? Like, what are your routines? What are the things you do personally? And also, it's a comment, but like you mentioned about the body, that means
Hmm.
you're connected to your body as well. Sometimes we ignore our the body signs. So
Yeah, yeah. That's something that's been a journey I've been on. So a few years ago, I got a life coach who was, I mean, she's not the typical life coach, but she really opened my eyes to the disconnect that I had from my head to my body, like my mind versus my body, and how easily I would ignore or disregard the signals and the signs I was getting from my body, like in real time. So, because sometimes we would have a conversation and she would stop me and say, "What are you feeling right now?" And I'm like, "I'm feeling fine." And she's like, "No, no, no." She was like, "Check your body, go from head to toe. Do you have any signs of tension? Are you like, are you tight? Like, do you actually feel relaxed? Are your muscles relaxed?" And I kind of go through that and I'm like, oh, actually, like, yeah, like my stomach's really tight and like my chest is all caved in and like I was like, oh, I guess I'm not fine, And it's like I had to learn to be present for myself and to trust what I was getting for myself. So just because something like your mind tells you, oh, this is great for you should do this or eat this or say this or whatever, your body might have a different opinion, and your mind can be easily tricked by external things. And so your body is it's a really honest gauge. And so if you really truly do not feel comfortable, or to flip it, like if you feel like amazing, like your whole body's just like, yes, this feels so good, that's telling you should probably do that thing or say that thing or experience this, whatever it happens to be. And the more that you're able to kind of have that awareness, you don't have to kind of stop and check in with yourself so much. It becomes a natural automatic thing. And so now what I do is, like, if I'm in conversation with someone or if I'm doing something and my body is like, nope, you need to stop this, I listen. Because I mean, sometimes I still ignore it because I really want to do the thing, and then it turns out I shouldn't have done the thing and I knew better. But that happens. We're all human. But more often I will actually stop and like listen and be like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this thing. Or if I am in relation with someone else, like if I'm talking to someone else or whatever, and they say, hey, Hope, let's go do this thing, because they're my friend or my loved one or whoever. And I'm like, yeah, I want to hang out with this person. Let's go do this thing. While my body is like, no, we don't want to do that thing though. And it's easy to be like, oh, let's just do it anyway because I want to be with my friend and they want to do this thing. But if I truly don't want to do it, I should express that. I'm like, hey, that's cool, but it's not for me. And it could be, it's not for me in this moment right now. Like, I want to do it, but maybe not today. Maybe it's a tomorrow thing. But it's just practice with doing that, because the more honest that you are with yourself, the more honest you are with other people in your expression. And that means that you're showing up more and more as your true self to people, which is, I think, should be everyone's goal, but it's definitely one of mine. And I feel that works in business as well. Like it's because it's you, whether you are at work or at home, at play, you are you. So whatever that you are doing, you are bringing that everywhere you go. And so, I'm bringing that to my business. I'm bringing that to my personal relationships. I'm bringing that to my relationship with myself. I bring that to my cats. Like it's just being you.
any soulful tools you use, like meditation, yoga?
Yeah, what's really great? I need to do it more. I need to do grounding more. It's a little difficult because I'm not near green right now. And like I have to go pretty far to even get a patch of grass or dirt that I can stand in. So I don't do that as much, but meditation's great. And the one thing I have to say for anyone that might hesitate around meditation or just discount it is that if you are not interested in meditation because your mind won't stop, that means you could really use meditation. It's not for everyone, but if you have a hard time quieting your mind, or if you just have thoughts going constantly all the time, meditation can help you, because it'll help you learn to create quiet spaces and to deal with all of the crazy stuff that's going through your mind throughout the day or night. And meditation can be in so many different forms. I also think meditation is a great way to learn to not judge yourself and to be kind to yourself, because if you're just starting with meditation, most likely it's going to be a challenge to clear your mind, and that's okay. As long as you're doing it, if you set aside 5 minutes and you go to a quiet spot and you just try to like quiet yourself and just try to meditate, the trying is what matters. It's not about like, yes, I like was able to have this deep reflection. Like, no, 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 no. Just do it. Because over time, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And the more you'll start to see like, oh, it's doing something. Like, I feel better, you know? And if you find yourself throughout the day, if you're stressed or you find yourself like just very, I don't know, discombobulated, like, you know, you're dealing with a rush of emotions and you're trying to like stay calm, take a 5 minute break from whatever it is that you're doing and meditate for a bit and come back. And I bet you're going to feel way more in control of yourself and just much more calmer no matter what the situation happens to be. So I lean on meditation. And what's a cool thing I can share with the audience, with the listeners, is there's this cool app called Insight Timer that I love. There's other apps like you can use Calm and like there's a bunch of other ones, Headspace and things, I don't know. But I like Insight Timer because one, it's free. There is a paid version, but you get so much on the free one. And I use it mostly for the music, to be honest. There are guided meditations that are great too. And there's different times. Like if all you have is 5 minutes, you can search for 5 minute, practices, whether it's meditation or music. If you've got half an hour, you can filter for like 30 minutes, whatever it is. But I love the music on there, especially the sleep music. I go to sleep to it almost every night because there's, what's it called? It's binaural beats. Amazing. I get the best rest of my life. If I go to bed listening to binaural beats, like any of those music tracks on Insight Timer, I have the best sleep. Even if I got to bed too late and I have to get up early, so I'm not getting the full amount of sleep I should get, I will wake up rested as if I had a full night's sleep. So you should try. Like, it's really good.
I'm going to use Insight Timer tonight for sleep. I usually do a meditation, but sometimes the voice of the person interrupts a little bit because when I'm starting to fall asleep, I hear the voice and then I come back. So I think that this music.
Yeah, the music's great.
By Neural Beats.
But
yeah.
I mean, I might be mispronouncing it, to be honest, but it looks like it's binaural or something like that. But it's about these different wavelengths that are supposed to have different effects on your body. So there's some that you can listen to during the day if you want focus, and then there's some at night if you want a deep rest. And then there's other ones like all these different vibrations or wavelengths that are supposed to have these effects. And all I know is that if I go to sleep listening to this type of music, I have the best rest ever, for what, I don't know if it's actually doing something or if it's just in my head and, it's a placebo effect. All I know is that it's working for me. Try to do some movement practice as well. I'm not as great with keeping up with it, but lately I have found that if I do so I might be like sitting at my desk or I might be just, I don't know, doing something around the house and I'll just be hit with this desire to go for a walk. And a lot of times what I used to do is be like, okay, cool, I'll go for a walk later because I'm in the middle of something or I'm doing something or I'm going to wait till after work. But then something else happens, I get distracted and it never happens. So now, unless if right now, if I got this desire to go for a walk, Hope, I'm not going to do it right this second because clearly I'm doing something. But after we're done, I would go for a walk, Okay. So I've found that if I do that, it's easier for me to do more movement practice without having to schedule it or remember to do it. And so sometimes all it is just going for a walk. Sometimes it's like, you know what, I want to dance. So I'll put on music and I'll just dance for a while. Or I decide I want to, see if the cats are up for playtime and chase them around the house.
How does that translate to a structure? For example, because you're talking about, you mentioned the word eating, you mentioned the word movement, meditation, and intuition with clients, even how you accept clients into your business. But how does that look like in your day-to-day? Do you have like a blocked schedule for work specific?
I tried a bunch of different styles to see what kind of works for me. And to be honest, I'm still figuring that part out. What I've realized is that it might be that there's not one method and that I just need to be flexible because earlier this year, having a really strict blocked calendar seemed to work really well. So these are my working hours, and even like for days of the week. So like certain days of the week, I'm working in my business, right? Like I'm not doing client work. I'm doing all this stuff for my business. And then other days of the week is for client focused work. And then on a day-to-day basis, it's like, okay, from this, these hours in the morning is for my, it's my private times. Like it's just me, not the cats, not my husband. And I do meditation, or I do journaling, or I'll sit with like a cup of coffee and read a magazine, whatever I felt like doing, but it was my time before the workday. And then, and stuff like that. But over the summer, that seemed to kind of not work so well for me. And so I did this other thing where it's like, okay, I'm just going to be fluid with it and not have any blocks. And I'm just going to see what happens and just go by moment to moment. And for the summer, it seemed to work pretty well. So I was like, okay, but now that's not seeming to work again anymore. So I'm trying some kind of hybrid, and I'm going to see how that goes. The one thing I have to say though, in terms of structure, that at least what I've experimented with so far, it does work. It's just, it seems for me that maybe there's seasons where certain seasons I need a certain type of structure. Other seasons I need a different type of structure. Maybe that's the thing, because it does work really well. It just seems to, at some point, I need something different to work. And
it's interesting that you say that about the seasons. There's this woman called Kate Murphy, and she talks about women in business. And one of the things she says is using month. Now you're talking about season of the whole year, which I love. But also she says breaking the month as a season, like because of, mainly for women, because of our period. So every week we're basically different. So maybe the week of your menstruation is your winter, right? And then your ovulation is your summer, and so on and so on. And so I think that, and then another woman, she says about having 3 routines, a structure of 3 routines. So every morning when she wakes up, she decides which of the 3 they're going to work. So it's almost like a flow within a structure, which is what you are doing already.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other woman, I will have to get back to you, because she's amazing as well. And I'll link it in the show notes. But yeah, that might help you.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. I love the idea of flow within the structure. That sounds like the perfect balance of your masculine and feminine. Like, that sounds great. I love that. I love that.
Well, you inspired me, because I'm listening to you and I'm like, she flows within a structure. So you do have a structure. It's just that you allow yourself to flow. Like when you were saying about, I focus on client work, or I focus on my business during the week, that already talks about, a structure. But then you divide it in a way that works for you.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful. And in that way, I want to know about like the growth of the future of your company.
Yeah.
How do you see it growing? Is it happy as is?
I mean, I like to leave the far future open, so I can be surprised myself, but at least for the near future, for the next like couple of years, maybe like even like, I know traditionally it's like, oh, your 5 to 10 year plan. I would say I wouldn't go further out more than 5, and I leave the rest of it up to whatever happens, up to the universe. But for now, I'm actually my business is in the midst of a major transition, because up until this point, I've really been 100% focused on one-to-one client work. And now I'm starting to offer some one-to-many options. So doing workshops and courses and productized services. So the funny thing is I've helped a lot of my clients create this. So I'm like, oh, I should do it for myself. So that's a big shift for me in my business, because it's a different business model. So I'm going to have 2 business models, like the one-to-one and the one-to-many. And so what I see for the next, like, say for next year and the year after that, it's going to be more of a balance, because right now it's really heavily one-to-one. So it's going to shift to be more of a balance between the one-to-one client work and the one-to-many options that I can offer. And I see that as being the key to growing my company without having to add lots of staff. Because I do want to hire, like that's something for 2025, actually. I'm doing the groundwork now, like creating a lot of the um, like instructional materials like SOPs and just like punch lists and all the things that someone coming into the business would need to get going right away. Like I just want it really clear and organized. So I'm prepping all of that now so that in 2025 I can hire someone and they're going to kind of take on a lot of the admin type work and some support level work. And then eventually probably like I'm not like, it's not set in stone, but I think at least at this moment, I like the idea of hiring someone that is, that has some marketing experience so that they can also replace me in some other parts of the business as well. So I can be more higher level, less hands on the day to day and just focus on the business overall, like my business overall, and then my client work, you know? So those are the plans. And so far things are falling into place bit by bit. And I just want to keep seeing that going, that happening. But yeah, like I really do. I think the main way I want to start measuring my growth and my business's success is in definite client markers of success, which I've kind of done, but I haven't done with like documentation. But I actually want to record it, document it so that it's there as a record and I can measure against it. So like, you know, how many of my clients have met their impact goals, whether it's like climate impact or social impact, like whatever they happen to have for their company. Like the way I help may not be a direct connection to what their initiatives may be, but in my role by serving them, you know, how have they been able to meet those impact goals that they have? And then also for my own company, I would like to have a more direct, like right now, my main impact is through my clients and their mission, but I would like to have a more direct impact as well through my company. So 2025 is also the time where I'll be able to start, doing more, philanthropy through my business. And one of the things I am envisioning, I need to work out the tech side of it. And there's a few people I've found that I think can help me with that part is so a percentage of every sale, whether it is client one-to-one client work, like an invoice being paid, or it is the sale of a productized service or workshop or course, goes to a specific charity each quarter. So I can switch up the charities each quarter. Because that's one, it's easy to track. It's a really direct way to like measure impact. But I also would just love that for my business. And it feels really good to be able to provide that. So that's another thing that's coming. It's in the pipeline, but that's more of a 2025 scenario.
I would like to say that if you start reaching to past clients or current clients and start asking them how you are impacting them, I think you would have a huge list. But I understand what you're saying, you know, the markers and formalizing that. But I know even now that we've, you know, known each other very little time, and I already can tell you all the ways you have impacted me. I believe you're a giver. And so I want to know, like, what are your beliefs in giving, why you give so much, but also how you create boundaries to not overgive
Mm.
or you know, the beliefs, because there's a reason you give so much and you know your value, obviously. You know your value very well because you provide that to your clients that don't see it. And for you to do that, I know you already have a very set beliefs in you. But I'm just curious how have been your journey to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love the fact that you were asking about how to set boundaries for that because that is really key. If you are naturally a giving person, it's really easy to give so much of yourself that you can't replenish. And so setting boundaries is key. And while I've always been aware of that, I've had more, maybe not so much success at the boundary setting and honoring those boundaries, until maybe the last 10 years or so. And I've gotten better and better like each year, but part of it is a mindset switch about boundaries and that as you give, consider your boundaries a part of what you're giving. And so your boundary is not you cutting off anybody from your gifts or your generosity. That's actually a part of your generosity. Because the thing is with people, everyone's their own individual. Everyone is responsible for themselves. And you can give and give and give. But if the person that you're giving to isn't truly receptive, your gift is being squandered. And in some cases, someone might want to keep taking and taking and taking because they're just freely giving, 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 but there's no end to it. And that's because the giving actually isn't beneficial for them. The boundary is beneficial for them because the boundary helps them learn that they can give to themselves. They can create and take responsibility of their own needs so that they don't need to take from you. And that's the best way to give is actually giving to people, to entities that don't necessarily need, how do I want to say this? They don't need an endless supply of your generosity. What you're doing is you're augmenting them. You're helping them. You're being that stepping stone. You're not the bridge. You're just one part of it, right? And so because realize their true potential if they are reliant completely on everyone else around them. They have to take responsibility for themselves. It doesn't mean that no one needs help. Like definitely we all should be helping each other, but you also have to take responsibility. So like, for example, like within a business scenario, if I am working with a client, I'm like, okay, well, here are XYZ things I need from you so that I can do this thing that you hired me to do for you. If the client does not hold up their end of the bargain, if they don't do those things, I cannot, like, you're not setting me up for success to set you up for success, like I literally cannot do what I need to do for you if you can't do those things, those responsibilities. And that's on you. What could happen in that scenario? It's like, okay, you know what? I get it. I'll do it for you. And it's like, no. Because that one, it's a slippery slope. But also, you are not them. Like a lot of the times, at least for me, like I need things in your words. I need things from your perspective. And so if you're just saying, okay, here's a bunch of stuff, just figure it out. Yeah, sure. I can figure it out and come up with something great. But that does not mean it's going to be something you will use because it's going to feel foreign to you, because it's not going to feel aligned with you, because you didn't participate in the creation of the thing. So in order for you to have this thing that you want, yes, I can provide it for you, but you still need to have responsibility and ownership. And without that, there's no point in me trying to help you. Like, it's similar like that. So, and I feel like that works in all of your life. It's not just a business thing. But yeah, I live to serve. I've always been, since I was a kid, ready and willing to help because I can. And if I can't, I try to go find someone who can. Like I've just always had that mentality, but I've also learned the hard way over time that there's some people, it's not that you can't help them, but it's that they're not willing to help themselves. And so they're not even going to make use of your help. Like it's literally a waste of your energy. And the best thing you can do is to put up a boundary and saying, no, unless this and this and this happens, I cannot do this for you because I need you to do this part. You need to be in it, right? And there's also energy too. So, like maybe you are trying to help someone that they came to you with a problem and you're like, okay, let's like talk through this. Let's work through this. I'm making space for you. Like I want to help you out. But if you realize, and it's something you should try to figure out early on, sometimes all they want is a place to complain. And that's okay. Like everyone needs a rant, right? Everyone needs that to get it off their chest. But you need to not confuse the need to rant and just get something off their chest with the need for you to save them. Don't try and fall for the savior trap. It's not going to work and it can bite you in the butt. Boundaries is about protecting yourself and your energy, but it's also protecting everyone else. Because by honoring your own boundaries, you're also teaching someone else how to interact with you so that they know how to come correct to you. And then also they're showing them that they can do this themselves, that they don't need to lean on you necessarily. So I don't know. That's hopefully that answered the question.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
beautifully. And also, I'm thinking like because of the boundaries, people come to you because they can trust you as well. Because that requires trust in the sense
Mhm.
of you overgiving might diminish your worth,
Right.
right? because
Right.
it's almost like a lack of confidence. But you being like, okay, this is my role in your life, in your business right now, and this is a top. Like you said, like they'll learn about it. But also, I know you give 200%. So then if they want 300, then they also have to give in that
Right.
point.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
kid, they're not your baby.
Right.
You want to trust them that they can run your business because then you look good as well. And
Exactly.
you feel good. You have a lot of trust that clients, that your business is going to be able to grow. And I
Mhm.
think that you're doing is on the right path, but also flowing, like allowing other type of clients that are not within the first category you entered,
Mhm,
and how
mhm.
you're going to grow. I'm very thankful that you're doing that, me myself, because then you're going to spread the word a lot more, and you have so much to say. You have such a beautiful voice, so centered and grounded, and a lot of people need your services.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of faith that I will continue to attract the right people that will become my clients or my referral partners, however it is that we, to be for each other. I mean, and I think for everyone else listening too, especially if you're in a tight spot with your business and you're doubting yourself, it takes a lot, but you do need to trust that you are doing the right thing. And even if it doesn't seem like it in the right now, like maybe you don't have the clients you need to have and you don't have the revenue coming in, but you need to trust that you are doing the right thing and that those things will come as long as you hold on to it, but not hold on to it so tightly that you don't see opportunities that are coming to you in a way that maybe you didn't envision. So, not to give up, but also to stay flexible and open, because there could be your next client right there, but they don't appear how you expected them to. And so you want to stay open to all of these possibilities, but still keep your faith that what you're doing is right and that things will work out and that you will find success and whatever success means for you. Because that's what I do like every day. One of my things when I journal is like, what am I doing today, that will bring me closer to my success? And sometimes it's about taking a break. Sometimes it's having a lovely dinner. Sometimes it's okay, I'm going to go and bang out like 10 emails or something. I don't know. It does, it changes, but it's a way to kind of keep you focused and keep you on the path that you're meant to be on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Hope.
Thank you for
For
having me. This has been such a good time. Like I could keep going. If I didn't have to leave, I just keep talking your ear off.
We'll do this more often, and we'll stay in communication as well.
Of course.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. Besitos.
Bye.